Welcome to the Israel Daily News Podcast. I'm your host, Shanna Fold, and I'm here to get you caught up quickly. I've got some top news stories for you today from Israel. And guess what? You're listening, so you're already on top of your game. Survive and thrive, people. Knowledge is the best weapon. Today is Monday, November 10th. 2025 in the Gregorian calendar, and the 20th of Cheshvan, 5786 in the Hebrew calendar. Today is our 800th episode. 800, yes. 800 episodes of the news. That does not even include the number of special reports that we released. I myself am a little under the weather today. Lots of Israelis are getting sick around this time of year, so excuse my voice. Now, let's get to the news. As we speak, Syria's president, or interim president, is being hosted at the White House in Washington, D.C. This is the first time a Syrian leader has visited the White House since Syria became independent from France in 1946. The U.S. recently removed sanctions that were in place for decades during the time that the Assad family had controlled the country. Assad, after an overthrow, fled to Russia. He nearly died after being poisoned in September while he was staying there. Al-Shara, the new man who led the rebel forces that overthrew Bashar Assad last December, has been serving as Syria's interim leader since January. He wears a suit, and he represents a big shift in the entire region, actually. You see, Syria is a longtime enemy of Israel. And now that the regime has fallen, the U.S. is engaging with Syrian leadership that feels new. And the region's alliances may be reshaping altogether. And al-Shara has many times said that he does not want war or to fight with Israel. Many analysts say this could be the beginning of a new Middle East with different power balances and new opportunities for diplomacy. Our team is monitoring this meeting that's underway in Washington, D.C., and we'll update you in the next podcast if anything remarkable comes out of it. But I can say I never thought that I would see a day where the president of Syria says that it would not like to fight with Israel. It's quite a shift. Today in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with senior White House advisors Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. The discussions are said to have been about the Gaza ceasefire and efforts to bring back the remaining fallen hostage bodies. There are 4 at this point. They also tackled a big issue, which is that roughly 200 Hamas terrorists are trapped inside of their own tunnels on the Israeli side of the yellow line, and it's been like this for days already. The yellow line is the line that marks where Israel's army has pulled back to. Israel had blown up the tunnel, and there are reportedly terrorists that are still inside right now. Netanyahu's office said that any decision about the terrorists hiding in Rafah will be made together with the Trump administration. Kushner landed in Israel on Sunday to help advance Washington's plan for ending the war. On Sunday, November 9th, the body of Lieutenant Hadar Goldin, who was killed and abducted during the 2014 Gaza war, was finally returned and identified after being held by Hamas for more than 11 years. Prime Minister Netanyahu confirmed that his family will finally be able to lay him to rest after 11 years of anguish and fighting. For the past decade, Goldin's parents, Leah and Simcha, along with his twin brother, Tzur, traveled the globe advocating for his body to be brought home. This only grew after the attacks of October 7th, 2023, in which 1,200 people were killed and some 251 were taken into Gaza. At the weekly cabinet meeting, Netanyahu called Goldin a hero of Operation Protective Edge. That's what the operation was called in 2014. He also reaffirmed Israel's commitment to recovering the remaining hostage bodies, noting Israel's long tradition of bringing soldiers home, even decades later, like after the 1982 Sultan Yaqub battle in Lebanon, as well as Eli Cohen, who was an Israeli spy in Syria. if you could see the connection, Israel has been in war with Syria in the past, and they still have items and individuals that Israel would like to have back. Netanyahu said that this is a national obligation, and he mentioned the efforts to retrieve the remains of Israeli spy Eli Cohen, who was executed in Syria in 1965. 4 bodies of slain Israeli hostages are still in Gaza that include Menny Goddard, Ron Gvili, Dror Or, and Sudhisak Rinfalak. One of our writers, Perry Schwartz, is a young woman. She's 22 years old, and she wrote something that I will share with you today. This is what she said. 11 years ago, I remember when my mom told me that an Israeli soldier was kidnapped to Gaza. After asking her more questions, she later told me he was also killed. That soldier was Hadar Goldin. For the past 11 years, I thought about Hadar almost daily, praying that he would come home. Through my middle school and high school years into early adulthood, I never forgot his name and image. They were always on my mind. I was 11 when Hadar was killed and abducted. Now I'm 22, and I feel like a weight is finally being lifted off my shoulders. Today, after 11 years, 4,118 days, Hadar has finally been returned and will be laid to rest. May Hadar's memory be a blessing. I am thinking of his family and loved ones at this time. We here at the Israel Daily News are going to his funeral, which is set to happen on Tuesday morning in Kfar Saba. We'll be covering that, and we'll have a special report for you from there. The body of hostage Lior Rudef was returned to Israel just days ago. That was Friday night. His body had been in Gaza for 763 days. The 61-year-old was killed on October 7th defending kibbutz Nir Yitzchak from Islamic Jihad terrorists. His family says they are relieved to finally give him a proper burial, and his community praised him for saving lives during the attack. After the handover, Gaza hospitals reported receiving the bodies of 15 Palestinians from Israel, which was part of the ceasefire exchange terms. The bodies of 3 deceased hostages were identified on Sunday evening. That includes Colonel Asaf Hamami, Captain Omer Nutra, and Staff Sergeant Oz Daniel. They were all soldiers who were killed in battle while fighting Hamas terrorists on October 7th, 2023. Colonel Hamami was the commander of the Gaza Division's Southern Brigade. He was killed in the Gaza border community of Kibbutz Nir Im. Captain Omer Nutra made Aliyah from the United States and served as a commander in the 7th Armored Brigade's 77th Battalion. Oz Daniel served in the same tank as Omer Nutra. American Jewish communities are mourning Omer Nutra. Synagogues, student groups, Jewish organizations across the United States have already held vigils and prayer gatherings honoring his life and supporting his family. Many Jewish leaders say the news brought a mix of heartbreak and relief, grief that he never came home alive, and gratitude that his family can finally lay him to rest with dignity. Nutra was raised on Long Island. A gathering was held for him on Monday night at Columbus Circle in Manhattan. His mother says, "Our hearts are shattered, yet at last we can begin the process of bringing Omer to his final resting place in the land he loved and defended." I apologize, that just got me so emotional thinking about myself, how I too came to this country with love of the land and my defense of the land, which I do through my pen, which I do through my journalism. Very emotional times for so many people around the world who have loved ones and family members that are here, who see the big picture, who see the vision, and are really willing to die for it. The United States is speaking with a number of countries about its efforts to stabilize Gaza following the American-brokered ceasefire. The U.S. spoke with Azerbaijan, Indonesia, the UAE, Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey about possibly contributing to an international stabilization force called ISF of around 20,000 troops. Azerbaijan is making headlines for telling Reuters that it will not send peacekeepers to Gaza unless all fighting between Israel and Hamas comes to a complete stop. An Azerbaijani government source said this to the papers. The Azerbaijani source said that the government will not put soldiers at risk while military operations continue, and any deployment would first require parliamentary approval. The head of the Parliament's Security Committee confirmed that no draft proposal has been submitted. a U.S.-backed UN resolution would authorize the stabilization force to use force if necessary to secure Gaza. Now I'm going to shift into something I have to say. There's only going to be force used to create peace in Gaza. Hamas, as part of this ceasefire, was supposed to disarm themselves. They have not done that. They have released their own footage of themselves killing, murdering, and beating people that they consider to be infidels or dissenters in the town square. So it is going to be necessary that any army sending a force, an interim peacekeeping force in Gaza, is going to need to send guns and lots of them. In fact, their guns are going to need to be bigger than whatever Hamas has smuggled into the Strip. This is, I want to say it's my analysis, but I just think it's fact. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met in Jerusalem with Jared Kushner, U.S. President Trump's son-in-law and special envoy, to discuss the American plan for ending the Gaza war. Kushner arrived in Israel on Sunday, and envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to join the meetings. The visit follows a similar round of discussions last month between Netanyahu, Kushner, and Witkoff on regional developments. Israeli officials say Washington is pressuring Israel to show more flexibility on the fate of Hamas terrorists hiding in tunnels under Rafah, while Israeli leaders publicly insist those militants will not be allowed to leave. Officials privately acknowledge that strong American pressure could force a compromise. Israeli forces demolished the West Bank home of Maher Samara, who is the Palestinian responsible for killing Tzila Gez and her unborn child in a drive-by shooting on that road in May. Do you remember her? Gez was rushed to Rabin Medical Center where doctors attempted to save her life, but she died the following day. Doctors did an emergency C-section, saved the baby, who was later named Ravid Chaim. They transferred him to Schneider Children's Medical Center in serious condition, and despite all of those medical efforts, the infant died a few days later. Tzila's husband, who was with her during the attack, was minorly injured and discharged from the hospital the next day. There was a photo circulating of him holding his baby, and then that baby died just days later. It was a story that rocked the country, and now the attacker's home is being demolished by IDF troops in the West Bank, or Judea and Samaria, however you choose to call this contested ancient land where Tzila Gez was gunned down at a junction by a Palestinian local. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered outside the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem on Sunday, demanding government intervention as violence in Arab communities continue to surge. Arab-Israeli communities. Okay, we're talking about Arabs who have citizenship in the state of Israel. I know it's hard for many people to understand that that is an existing population. There are about 2 million Arab Israelis in Israel. The rally came after 7 Arab citizens were shot dead over the weekend, all in separate incidents across the country, pushing this year's death toll to 223 from that community. Opposition member of Knesset Gilad Kariv accused National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir of intentionally neglecting Arab crime, calling it a deliberate policy rather than a failure of law enforcement. Critics, including Arab municipal leaders, say police lack the manpower, patrol vehicles, and surveillance tools needed to curb the violence, and note that most murders in their communities remain unsolved. Murder rates have sharply risen under Ben-Gvir's tenure after he dismantled programs designed to combat crime in Arab towns, and his office has yet to release updated data for 2024. Israel carried out several strikes in southern Lebanon, with local media reporting 3 people killed and several were wounded. The IDF says it targeted weapons smugglers and a Hezbollah operative after they violated the ceasefire. The EU, the European Union, condemned the strikes and called on Israel to respect the ceasefire agreement, while Israel says that Hezbollah continues rebuilding military posts along the border. Lebanon's army said in September that they would be going after Hezbollah and forcing them to disarm. In Sunday's briefing with the Prime Minister's press secretary, Shosh Bedrosian, she said Israel is working to obliterate Hezbollah's operation, but failed to answer when I asked if Lebanon's army has been involved in this matter as well. She says the IDF is working to defend Israelis, But so far, I don't have any answers whether Lebanon's army is actually following through with their commitment that they made as well. I reached out to some experts on the matter, and we are waiting to hear back. I'm personally interested to know if Lebanon's army is taking Hezbollah, which works as a fringe organization within the country, seriously. Separately, the IDF downed a drone carrying 3 assault rifles in a weapons smuggling attempt from Egypt. So this is in the south, not in the north. And this is the 3rd such attempt in recent days. The issue of smuggling over the Egyptian border is an underreported issue at this time, according to our sources at that border. And my source is actually my rabbi here in Tel Aviv. He's now reporting for reserve duty at the border. He says his troops have been dealing with this. And in a report released by Kalkalist News here in Israel, they say that in the first quarter of 2025, there were 627 smuggling cases that were recorded. That's just recorded. Each of these cases were smuggling attempts via drone. The article says that the skies are one of the hardest places to attempt to survey and keep sealed. So it's very hard to keep these drones from coming over the border. Turkey's Istanbul chief public prosecutor issued arrest warrants for 37 Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, Defense Minister Katz, and IDF Chief Zamir. The warrants accuse them of genocide in Gaza. Israel calls the move political, saying its strikes focus on militants and that it has repeatedly arranged evacuations and humanitarian aid. And by the way, Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that he will not accept Turkish boots on the ground in Gaza. He didn't say this, but I would assume that he, first of all, is being threatened by Turkey right now. Second of all, been there, done that. This region has been under Ottoman rule for a long time. That's what it was called before it was called Turkey. And I doubt that Israeli leadership want to bring that regime back to this area after it took so much time to get them out. Those are my 2 cents as I understand history. Former military advocate general Ifat Tomer Yerushalmi was admitted to the hospital Sunday morning. No updates on what happened there. In short, Tomer Yerushalmi told investigators she leaked a classified video from the State Teman detention center showing soldiers allegedly abusing a Palestinian prisoner somewhat off camera and protected by shields that were available at the facility to hide them. It sparked wide public backlash, and the 5 young men were accused, but there's been no resolution in that case. Israel's left and right both think that there were strategic reasons for why Tomer Yerushalmi leaked the video. But I don't like to go into conspiracy theories. Let's let that play out in a court of law, and we'll keep you updated on what happens with her. Special thanks to our partner, Bernie News Network, or BNN, for providing great intel for us here at the Israel Daily News. For fast and precise updates, join BNN on WhatsApp and Telegram at their website, bernie.news. And a special thanks to Perry Schwartz, our news writer who has been loyally following the updates and writing her heart out. And of course, I want to thank all of you for your interest in Israeli affairs. Israeli politics are world politics. I also want to thank all of you who personally finance and fund the Israel Daily News podcast with monthly contributions. You can support us by going over to our website, israeldailynews.org, and clicking on donate. The Patreon link is over there, and you can also send us a monthly donation using the Patreon link. There's an option for a one-time donation as well. Our organization is operational thanks to listeners and supporters like you. Thank you to Marianne Vollinger for her monthly support. In response for your contributions, I'll send over a handwritten thank you note to show my appreciation. Follow us on social media at israeldaily.news. We are on X, YouTube, TikTok, and on Instagram. Our page is about 40,000 followers. You can also follow my personal page at Shanna Fold. My name has 2 N's in it, and I'm very sensitive about that. The Standard & Poor, also known as the S&P, upgraded Israel's credit outlook from negative to stable, citing hopes for continued calm after the ceasefire. Analysts say a stable security picture is key to economic recovery. Saturday night, I went to Hostage Square, which is the plaza in front of the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. There have been rallies here every Saturday night for more than 2 years, and I've attended a number of times for various different moments throughout this war. One I remember that stands out is when I went to honor 100 days. Today is day 765 of war, and Hamas still has 4 hostage bodies they have not returned. I attended Saturday night for a number of reasons. Firstly, I felt it my duty to get the pulse of the people on the ground during this historic time in Israel's history. And more importantly, as an Israeli, I wanted to give support to the remaining families who await the return of their family members' bodies. When I was present, there were 5 families hoping to get a body home from Gaza for burial. Then the next day, we received the body of Hadar Goldin, a lieutenant who was captured in 2014. His body was kept there ever since. Recently released hostage Rom Braslavski came up on the stage. He has only been out of captivity for 27 days. And on Saturday, it had only been 25. Imagine being 25 days out of captivity only. So fresh. He came up on stage and his father stood next to him, beaming from ear to ear. He had gotten his son back. The other families could not have had a bigger frown on their faces. Imagine being the last of the families to get your family member's body back. And many probably have had a mix of hope and despair for more than 2 years. The public who showed up shouted, "You are not alone. We are with you." In Hebrew, of course, that's what you're hearing. I felt it in my bones. The entire plaza was filled with locals and even some tourists who came to Israel for the first time since October 7th's heinous war broke out. I stood by the press arena with camera gear and I looked at the faces of the families on stage. For more than 2 years, they have suffered all kinds of emotional torture, and yet they show up on stage. What really shocked me was seeing recently released hostage Rom Braslavski show up at random, come on stage. He was recently released from the hospital. He noted that he's sure that everyone had seen his interview about the sick torture, beatings, and sexual abuse he endured in Gaza, and that it was challenging for him to share those details. He also said that he was in the place that he had seen on TV from inside Gaza and that he had dreamed of making it to the square. He saw it on the screen, held on to it in his mind, and lived it into reality on Saturday night. And I was there to witness it. At one point, he let out a shout, and then another, and then another. He allowed himself. I felt that after his first shout, he realized he was free to shout. So he did it again and again. Let's hear what locals had to say about what brought them out for the rally on Saturday night. Many we spoke with say they come every week. One says she's visiting for the first time since October 7th, and she comes from Paris.
Martini walks back from Paris. I have been following since 2 years, and it's very emotional to be here.
I want to express my gratitude to those people and do everything I can to support those families because I feel for them and I can't imagine how hard it is, especially now. We knew that we need to come here when it was hot, when it was raining, when it was maybe we were waiting for better news. We saw that the families getting that strength from us, so it was important, but it wasn't easy.
We also spoke with the cousin of Shiri Bibas, Jimmy Miller. Shiri Bibas was the young, red-headed mother who was abducted with her 2 baby boys, Ariel and Kfir. Shiri was 32 and her boys were 4 and 9 months old. 4 years, and the other one was 9 months old. They were abducted into Gaza and sent back in body bags. All 3 of them were buried in one casket in February 2025. I was present to cover the funeral and the rallies throughout the entire country that took place on that day. I remember people whispering, "I'm sorry, Shiri. Slicha, Shiri," which means, "I'm sorry," as her body passed by in a hearse in its long procession from Rishon all the way to the south. Shiri's cousin Jerry spoke to us about what the family has been going through ever since.
My name is Jimmy Miller. I'm the cousin of Shiri Bibas. How I'm feeling? I hope that it's going to finish soon. Okay, about my family, always it's going to be a very hard pain. It's a pain that, comes with me and go with me every day, day by day. I hope that one day it's going to finish and I'm going to feel, different about it. Yarded Mibas is still living in the hotel until now. I hope that soon he's going to find to himself a house somewhere. And he still have a big pain, every day, day by day. Same like I, but I think that's much, much more than I.
Anything you want to share? Any message you have?
Don't forget. Don't forget what's happening 7th of October. Never, never, ever.
I hope that you found those interviews to be compelling, to be emotional, and to connect you to the way that Israelis are feeling, the way that hostage families are feeling, and the way that even though we have a ceasefire in place and there were celebrations weeks ago, so many people feel that this is not over. And I just keep thinking about what it means to be one of these last 5 families. Now there are 4 standing who are waiting for their loved ones to come home, and not come home to give them a kiss, but come home in a body bag. So I'm on that today. All right. Well, that is it for today's show. Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025. Tel Aviv has a low of 19 degrees Celsius and a high of 27 degrees. That's 66 degrees Fahrenheit for the low, going up to 81 degrees for the high. We are everywhere. Don't forget to sign up to our weekly Israel News Wrap. The Israel Weekly News Wrap is a newsletter with the top 5 stories coming out of Israel from throughout the week. And of course, with a personal note from me at the top, you can sign up for that at israeldailynews.org. I'll send you off with a song today called 7 Nation Army. This is by Israeli-Russian DJ Erica Krall. It's a remix. Enjoy her song. Have a great and productive day and an excellent week. Shavua Tov, everyone.